Hello, traders. It is 8:01 a.m. Chicago time on Monday, the 31st of December, 2018, the last trading session of the year. Goodbye, 2018, and hello, 2019. We'll be back in business on Wednesday. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, we're looking at a market that is trading inside of Friday's range. I want to remind you that Europe is closed. They are more sane than we are here in the US, I guess. Europe is not trading today, so Bund, DAX, Euro stocks all stuck at the strong closes that they saw on Friday for the year, and the US is seeing um, a little pop higher, slight allocation to risk this morning. We're seeing the volatility futures, the VIX futures, dropping 2.67%. The US dollar's down, but everything is pretty much marginal. The Nasdaq's up 55 points. It's where the strength is this morning, and crude oil's up 0.71% or 32 ticks, 32 cents. So this morning, again, we're opening inside of Friday's range in the S&P minis, slightly stronger on Friday. We saw the market go neutral, neutral or normal neutral, testing higher and lower, and then ending up somewhere in between. This morning, not seeing too much that could affect our trading. We have a pretty clear, other than some bill announcements and auctions and things like that. There really isn't anything on the calendar. This is a full session, believe it or not. The U.S. is trading all the way through to 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, including on the New York Stock Exchange. My expectation is it's likely to be a pretty quiet session, but then again, the 24th, the last Christmas Eve, a week ago, we had some serious selling going into the eve, which would normally be a very, very quiet session. So we'll see what today holds. I'll be here for it, at least half a day, and just to see if something happens. I'm not expecting too much. I'm expecting that most of the business that was going to be done for the month end, quarter end, and year end, all of that was done on Friday, and that today it's likely to be short-term traders and interns basically at the trade desks. So we'll see how that pans out. Here's what I expected on Friday. Friday, the three key ideas. Uh, Really, what I was looking for, these could have gone either way. We have been to one time framing up since we put in the low on Monday, last Monday, and I was looking for the primary idea. I was looking for the market to open in a small gap up and become responsive down to 24.57.75 almost immediately for a pop up into the close. The secondary is for it to push up into 25.33. It's a key area. 25.33. It's a composite low volume node among others. To find sellers and push lower, and the extended target, if it does push lower, would be 24.22. Here's what we actually got. The range was tighter. We pushed through that excess high at 25.08 that was left behind from the 21st or something. We pushed through it 25.09.75, found responsive sellers, pushed down into 24.72, never really got down lower, and then traded sideways. Very choppy trade most of Friday, and then we had, again, just like we had in prior days, we popped up higher. So we get this push higher later in the session. Okay, so we did get a small push higher Takes us to 25.23. Could not get to 25.33 up here. 25.33. Yep. Couldn't quite get there, and then sellers came in on the close to finish out the day, probably the year as well. We ended up taking out the IB low. You ended up taking out the IB high. The IB is this yellow line. It's the first hour of trading. This hour of trading usually gets the most amount of business done, and it usually outlines, although it occurs at the hour, which I don't like because it's time-based. I don't like to trade on things that are time-based. It does on most days outline most of the business done for the session. That first hour high and low is called the initial balance. This is when the big market on open orders get done. The higher time frame gets done with most of its business, and so we monitor how that extends up or down to figure out if buyers or sellers are able to push through that higher low and are able to do business beyond. So this becomes a measuring stick for the session. Let me see where my sound is. Yeah, my sound should be nice and clear. I know Friday there were some issues. And then we finished in the middle of the session. So we took out the IB high low and then IB low again. And then we finished in the middle, a neutral day, a resting day, really. I'm calling this an excess high simply because it was done in L period before the market sold off. So that's technically an excess. I'm starting to mark those to see how we treat excesses in this current auction. I expect today's range to be quite modest. If you notice on Friday, we traded pretty much on top of the 20-day average for each 15-minute bracket. So if you look at the black line, these black lines, they represent the 20-day mean volume for that particular bracket, for that particular 15. In this case, this chart's 15 minutes, so it's a 15-minute bracket. And then the orange or white is the actual, depending on whether it increased to the prior bar or not. It could be white or orange. And what you see is that most of Friday we traded right on top of the 20-day mean, whereas in other sessions we tended to trade a little bit higher. So especially over here, a lot higher. Friday was definitely, I'm looking at Friday as a rest day, as a balancing day, where the market's just is just tired. So I'm looking for that to transition into our current session. The overnight session, where are you? The overnight session, fairly muted. Okay, so in contrast to last Christmas Eve when we sold off, last night's session was actually very, very light, 119,000. That's pretty much in line with the norm from the summer, which is about 110 to 120,000 contracts in the overnight session. This tells me that there's really, really low participation compared to prior days. Here's Friday's overnight session, 339,000. Volume says something. Price is king. Volume is confirmation for price. Volume gives us a metric to measure how much conviction there was in the price movement. And what we have is a very balanced profile with the point of control, VWAP, and mid on top of each other. That's confirmation of balance. That the high is not so great. The low is pretty good. We opened and popped right up. Let's look at it here on the heat map, and you'll see how little participation there was. This heat map looks very odd in the overnight session. The delta is relatively strong, but you could see we opened back here. We popped right up, and then this whole area here has no real bids or offers. You can see it's just little flutters of white here. Looks like a looks like a dark before the snowstorm arrived, and then right at what would normally be the European Open right here, at 1 a.m. Chicago time, we start to see bids and offers come in. Well, bids right here, and then it's still very quiet. Still very quiet. We're not seeing much participation, not much liquidity in the overnight session, and it's really not characteristic of the kind of market that would be trading normally. So again, today is expected to be quite the lazy, quiet day. Now, I'm open to whatever happens, but based on the evidence I have in front of me, it's telling me that it's likely to be a fairly quiet session. There's a lot of liquidity that's been sitting all night. You can see that. Well, let me choose a different color because this white color isn't working very well. You could see that liquidity shifts down, shifts down, shifts down. See how all of it's shifting down? That's just business waiting to get done at higher prices, and it keeps shifting down slightly. And currently, it started out at 25.22 at basically Friday's high, and has shifted down in one block, down and down and down and down until now it's resting between 25.14 or 13.5 to 15.5. The liquidity pools right in here with another pool on top and another pool on top. That's likely to present some resistance as we push up. On the bid side, we're pretty much, we're pushing against 2,500. This is a century figure and a very, very choppy area. The century figure is generally not a good area to initiate trades. And we see that liquidity is really a fair amount below that. It's likely to come down here and test this out at some point in the session if we do get any kind of movement. So that's that. That's the review segment. Let's move on to what we expect for today. Let's cut down on the noise. So for today, I'm really not, like I said, I'm really not expecting very much. We're opening on top of the point of control overnight, on top of the overnight mid and the VWAP. I expect it to be a fairly muted open auction. I expect it to be almost like a summer type trade. I'm looking for it to squeeze up into 24, 14, 15, and then I'm looking for it to fall through the century figure and then explore that overnight low, that liquidity pool underneath for a squeeze down into this point of control and high volume node on the composite, and then back up to finish probably on an inside. I'd love to see this fail through though. Love to see this squish through that liquidity and start to move down into this flagpole right here and squeeze through this 2462 area all the way through to 2450. So that would be the push. And that's really scenario 3. Scenario 2, the secondary scenario is we open, we grind down into this, again, the liquidity pool in 2492 area, consolidate, push down into the point of control, and then sprint up, and then start working ourselves back to 2415, and then challenge this 2515, and challenge 2523 into 2533. Not very likely. The tertiary scenario, the third scenario, is for us to really break. So open, test up, test the overnight high, impulse down, get down, consolidate into the point of control, into this, again, liquidity area and point of control, and then push through this low, consolidate at the top of this string of singles here, and then challenge all the way down to 24.50 would be the target. If I see this go below yesterday's low, I'm going to hang on to around the 24.50 area. 24.46 would become the target. Okay, so those are the the three key plays. Again, I would have modest expectations. Let's not finish the year on a negative note. Um, I'm going to tell you that it's really much more productive for you today to spend the time looking at your metrics, looking at your what you plan to do for the year, and then planning out what you want to do for the year. It's just a much better use of your time. You're going to have New Year's tomorrow. We'll be off, and then we're in a new year on Wednesday. This is the opportunity now to look at your business, to look at your performance and set some goals for the year, some general goals, and then ways to measure them on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever basis you choose, for you to actually be working towards a goal as opposed to just spending time every day but not getting a return on that time. I want to wish you all a tremendous new year. Just first and foremost, great health. Without health, we are nothing. Doesn't matter how wealthy we are. Health is wealth. So wishing you the best of health, wishing you peace, prosperity, and the potential to reach your trading goals this coming year. I hope you all have an epiphany at some point and recognize that execution is key, and the only thing you can control in the market once you put a trade on is risk, and you need to predefine that. Good luck, everyone. Thank you for being with me in 2018 and looking forward to being with you again in 2019. Take care, all.